All right, we are live now into the second hour. Talk show host, filmmaker, best-selling author Steve Quayle is here with us. Gary Haven is going to be popping in with us a little bit later as well. You were here this morning on with David Knight in the morning show he's doing right here on the InfoWars Network. Good to have you here with us.
Hey, Alex, good to be with you today. Hey, we got so much going on in the world. I don't know, brother, how you keep up with it.
Well, I'm trying. We've got the Democrats saying that they are moving to impeach Trump. That is their new campaign slogan. U.S. officials says Israel preparing for war with Iran, seeking U.S. support. We're going to hit it all here in just a moment. But I got behind last hour. I want to get into Kanye West and the inside baseball right now and then get your take on it. We know he's been friends with Trump for more than a decade. We know he went and met with him when he was president-elect, then when he was president. We know they threw him in a mental institution for a week saying it's crazy, the Baker Act. If somebody in your family says, we think it's crazy he likes Trump, and he still came out and said, no, I like Trump. So it shows the mind control of them demonizing him. So he goes into TMZ yesterday, and there's an edited clip where he talks about how, listen, Jews' identity is now the Holocaust. Blacks' identity is slavery. We need to transcend this and not have it be our identities. And I've seen him give that speech before. Well, they were waiting for him to do it. Out of context, they edited it to make him sound like he's saying blacks deserved it. No, he's saying all of us are basically slaves now to this mind control. There's a new enemy. Let's break out of it. He's never lessened black slavery. And he was actually quoting, he's tweeted this, Harriet Tubman, of course, who ran the Underground Railway. Now, the lady that helped free the slaves with white abolitionists, she's now, I guess they're going to say KKK if they say that's who he is or who Candace Owens is, who's coming up later in the next hour. I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. That's Harriet Tubman. So I want to get your take on that. Then I'm going to play the edited clip versus him clarifying in the same clip. So he's saying, we're all drugged. We're under mind control. We're all under attack. Break out of the prison. Free thinking. Trump's not bad. But if you like Hillary, that's fine. That's total common sense. That's what bullies they are. Then they change the subject to he's now saying blacks deserve to be slaves. No, he's saying we're all in a mental prison. People were in a prison then. When blacks decided to break out, when whites decided it was wrong too, it ended. He's saying we have power. We don't just need to be victims. But they want to make people's identity how they're victims. Then there's the groups that feed that victimology and control it. You've talked about this for a long time. I'm going to play these clips and get into the inside baseball that I've been told by 3 high-level sources of Kanye and Trump. And my sources think it's now time for people to know what Kanye's doing specifically with Trump. We're going to give people the exclusive, but I wanted to get your take on this, Steve Quayle.
No matter what you say, no matter what Kanye say, anybody who speaks out against if you will, the scripted official programming, Alex, they come in and they absolutely distort what you say because they can't stand the thought of anybody telling the truth, and they have to take everything put into their context because they can't take the truth in our context. The truth is the truth. But these guys are basically, they're worm-like editors, and they worm into every word you say, I say, Kanye said, and they want to spin it. They spin, spin, spin. And so the point is, they will never put us in context. You know that personally. They always take everything in their frame of reference, and the frame of reference is they don't want to lose control of the mind-controlled people. That's my opinion.
And Kanye, if he's successful, I think he is, he's going to go down in history with all that star appeal on the #1 artist in the world, trying to do what we've done in 20-plus years, accelerating it in just a few months. And the fact that he's standing against it's incredible. But to watch TMZ trying to set him up when, he's coming in there and giving them, such attention. Or maybe it wasn't the owners of TMZ, and maybe it was just the editors trying to get attention. But we're going to show what they showed, and then what they later put out as what he really said, which they should have put it out. Again, he's not saying Jews deserve the Holocaust or Jews were weak. He's saying it shouldn't be their identity of just the Holocaust. I mean, think about that. That's our women thinking the West hates them when the West has empowered women, but then the globalists won't expose what Islam's doing to women. Or China killing tens of millions, 60, 80 million little girls. I mean, where's Gloria Steinem's going on? The mass killing, 60 to 80 million little girls killed, millions hiding under their houses like Anne Frank. Millions of Anne Franks right now in China hiding for much of their life because they're still going to be killed or put in a forced labor camp because their parents didn't kill them. All that's going. I'm so proud of Paul Watson because Candace Owens is just dynamite. Really magnifying her, pushing the real red pill, black, getting her out there. We're going to have Candace Owens coming up in the last 30 minutes of the next hour today. So be sure and retweet that at Real Alex Jones. It's so exciting. But looking at this, I'm going to come back in the break and just briefly tell you the inside baseball on Kanye West I was given from high-level Trump sources. I mean, he's for real.
He is for real. And the problem with this whole controlled dialogue is that they don't want people to ever see anything in context, Alex. The American people need context. So when you're doing the in-depth studies and everything that we're talking about, the American people are starting to see, hey, wait a minute, this isn't the official story. I know there's more to the story.
They're starting to think, they're starting to understand that they're only be given a pinhole of the truth instead of the bigger picture.
Right, and that's what we're trying to do. Most people have been raised on news bites, and they've lost the ability to cognitively think and process data. They can't put things together.
And that's what Kanye said. We're going to play that short clip when we come back. I was talking to syndicated radio host, best-selling author, and filmmaker Steve Quayle, who I heard talking about geoengineering and human-animal hybrids 23 years ago when I first got on air. He got on air right around the same time, but he was already way ahead of me. And I thought the guy was a little bit out there. Over the years, about 95% of it's all come out, which is pretty frightening. But he joins us right now for 30 minutes the next hour. We're going to have Gary Haven getting here as well. We're also going to have Millie Weaver popping in from the Caravan site on the Mexico side because the U.S. won't let reporters get up close to it. She shot a bunch of amazing live footage with her team there inside Mexico yesterday, but she couldn't say her piece because she probably would have had some issues as a team in Mexico. So she'll give you the rest of the report coming up. Steve Quayle's riding shotgun with us. And then Candace Owens. Interview with Candace Owens coming up. Of course, Kanye had her there at TMZ and all the rest of it. And the fact that he's punching all this knowledge out there and saying we're allowed to have free thinking, aren't we? He's calling out the elephant in the room. But I was talking to Steve about 3 minutes ago during the break, and I said, Steve, what do you guess that I'm going to talk about with Kanye West and with Trump? And he said, well, I want to get into how the globalists need World War III and how Wesley Clark laid out the 7 nations, and I think it has to do with that. And as God is my witness, I did not tell him or anybody yet here in the office or anybody else what I've been told by 3-level sources. One involved with SpaceX and Space Command, who, again, could not come on today because of the lawyers, but he's looking to go public soon here on the broadcast. He knows Kanye and Elon Musk and all those folks. We put the photo of Kanye in 2011 at SpaceX with Elon. We should probably put that on screen for TV viewers. But I was told what was going on. And, of course, it's all common sense. I already know it's good intel because I already basically understand the players. NASA is one shadow government set up to compete with the CIA and the other shadow government. And they're interlocked, they're intertwined. But there's a group that wants human exploration, that doesn't want to reduce world population, that wants to have a human future that Trump's been pushing. And Elon Musk and others are involved in that. Myself, Matt Drudge, Ron Paul, Rand Paul, people like that, Steve Quayle. Then there's the really bad deep state actors. It's very varied in the CIA, but it's the 1947 National Security Act group, that whole group. They are wanting a tyrannical world war, depopulation, total control, so then most of us will be wiped out. They can roll out the clones, the synthetic humans, the machines, all the stuff they've already got. They're 40 years ahead, the super weapons. They don't want to wait until China and Russia get to that technological jump point that they already hit 40 years ago. They want to hit them now. And Trump's trying to stop all that from the intel I've got. That's why this really satanic globalist force is so pissed right now. And Kanye, I can now tell you, has been brought in by President-elect, then by the president, in on the whole plan. He'd already been brought into it by Elon Musk years ago. And the whole pro-human faction, not the transhumanists saying we're all trash, Ray Kurzweil globalist faction, they don't believe in God yet. And you're the expert on this. We'll go to you in a moment to have the floor. Steve Quayle. And Kanye, just like patriots in our government, drafted Trump 4 years ago to prepare him to run when they were looking at a coup against Obama. And, of course, he's talked to some of the generals. He testified to this. We were in D.C. a few weeks ago. You can see that in his speech at the Mayflower. In fact, we probably re-air that. We haven't aired that except once live. And he didn't even know that I knew about that separately. And Trump was drafted on a kamikaze mission to do this. So it's not the whole government that's bad. There's the pro-human faction and the eugenics death cult faction. And so Kanye was brought in on all this, briefed on this, briefed on a lot of the stuff that public hasn't been told about yet, like Trump talked about in his inaugural address, about secrets of the universe. You're about to know them. We have technologies that'll help boost everything, get the economy going. He's trying to do that. The globalists want a post-industrial world. And you notice they cut the tape and they interrupt when he goes, well, until the point that humanity, because we're way past this racism thing, they're trying to stop it till the point that humanity, and they cut him off right there. To the point that we all basically sync up, but not falsely with the internet and the computers and the AI trying to control us in a hive mind, but where we all, like Christ talked about, hit the next level. And they're trying to suppress that, basically the Holy Spirit. And so that's what Kanye keeps trying to get out. They interrupt him every time. But Kanye has now been drafted into this. He's a patriot. Other people were approached. They're all cowards. So we have to give him the props that he has this much courage. But that's it. He and Trump are working together. This is coordinated, and they have a lot of courage. Go ahead, Steve Quayle. You've got the floor for the segment. The next.
The idea of a necessary World War III is absolutely the overriding and overruling dynamic that's going on behind the scenes. And Alex, what's important that people understand, really get it and understand it, these people are the ones that do want to decimate the human race, take it down to 500 million. Globalist, the best dream they have, the globalists, their best dream, our ultimate nightmare. But what Kanye did, if you remember, when he had his meltdown, he put that into the context of Jay-Z and a supernatural war going on. You remember that? I mean, you know, he was worried about curses and everything else. Well, here's the deal. Many of the people in Hollywood who have been under a form of mind control are now coming out of that. And I'm not saying Kanye is, but he is. He's been under mind control. Yeah. I mean, just cultural everything.
Right, but you can see he's coming out of it.
Yeah, he's coming out of it. But others will follow. It's kind of like an icebreaker. The bow on the icebreaker hits the ice first, and if the bow on the icebreaker doesn't hit the ice first, the rest of the ship can't come through. So when we take it into the World War III context, look at where we're going. We're going right into Iran. They're A positioning, B positioning. They're getting ready to go at it. And what we're seeing now with the Syrian revelations of, firing missiles and Trump trying to prevent World War III, and that really pissed off the powers that be, okay? They want World War III. They do.
That's why he's doing limited things to culturally appease the hawks, but it's actually like Red Adair using TNT to blow up an oil well that's on fire. Exactly. He's killing the bigger fire with a smaller one.
Exactly. And he understands the program, and you know your sources tell you that. But also the thing that people have got to understand is this. When you and I broke the story about Deagle's is the depopulation, kind of like the RAND think tank, the depopulation of America, losing up to 80% of its population. Now, that was before. People lose track of the fact that these guys behind the scenes, call them the global puppet masters, the Luciferians, the Satanists, they absolutely go nuts. They melt down, Alex, and all the mouthpieces that are trying to make Kanye look bad, that are always against, quote, us, who are the free press, the last vestige of the free press, they don't want to lose the C word, and that's control.
And again, we're not bragging. We're going to come back. You're on fire. But you have been the tip of the icebreaker. We're not bragging. That's why we're under so much attack. They know this, folks. They know we just want to win. We're for everybody. We want humanity. We'll point out all the garbage. I'm getting chills right now. And I forgot to play this clip of Kanye saying, hey, you're on drugs. You're under mind control. Wake up. It's happening. And you can see he's there. It's real. He's breaking out of it. You can tell he's got chills because your spirit knows we're at the choosing point right now. We're going to come back and talk more about Iran, how we stop the globalists. But here's that clip as we go out to break with Kanye just last night.
We are drugged out. We are following other people's opinions. We are controlled by the media. And today it all changes.
And so they spin that he doesn't like black people and says they deserve to be slaves. No, he said, we're all slaves now. We're breaking out. Let's stop being slaves. Let's stop being victims. Let's declare our destiny. Steve Quayle's here in studio with us today. Riding shotgun, always has a lot to say. Millie Weaver is out in California or is it Mexico? She's been back and forth covering the migrant George Soros-funded humanizing event so that we all just open our borders completely to the collapsing third world, that the big mega banks are doing everything they can to keep collapsing and under their control. So they use our emotions against us. Just briefly here, we are listener supported and listener funded. We have amazing products. I just ran into one of the maintenance guys who had gout in his foot for a couple of weeks, and the doctors and the medicine they gave him didn't do anything. And I said, hey, it looks like you're better. You've gotten a lot better. And he said, yeah, I started taking bodies. And within days, almost all the inflammation went away out of my foot when the medicine they gave me didn't work. That just happened as I walked down the hall. It's 25% off our ultimate turmeric formula, 95% curcumin level. The leading competitors have 3%. I know people that tell me, oh, I didn't have a big inflammation help when I took a turmeric product. Well, that's because most of it out there is old, dried crap. This is concentrated, the curcumin, and then 5 other ingredients that supercharge it. Everybody needs to have bodies. It's amazing. I personally, have a 80% blown Achilles. Sometimes it really hurts when I exercise. Boom, take 2 of those. Within 4 or 5 hours, it doesn't work like Advil, though, in 30 minutes. Massive, massive, massive response. So I just take it on a routine basis now and feel so much better. I'm going to get the Achilles fixed at some point. And I've got a smashed right hand from different activities, bones broken in it probably more than 100 times. I'm not joking. And without bodies, that just personally made my life so much better. DNA Force Plus, now with more PQQ and CoQ10, now with more. So it's even stronger and it's less money. 50% off, $74.95. It's been our most expensive product because clinics sell similar things for $300 to $400 because they have 5, 6, 7 times markup. We don't. At 50% off right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have, 40, 50% markup. That's what I'm telling you. Nobody does. This is a Rolls-Royce formula for a Ford F-150 price. This is telomere support. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. Steve Quayle of the Q Files is here with us. We're going to get into the announcements, U.S. officials, Israel preparing for war with Iran, seeking U.S. support, NBC News. That was pretty clear with what Netanyahu said. I don't like the mullahs. I don't like Iran. But you talked about it yourself and what the globalists fear, this awakening, and why they want war, and what you think Trump's really doing, and how this ties into the open borders in Europe, our borders here. And we're going to go to Millie Weaver to ride shotgun with us. There's Millie there right now. Let's just pop to her for a second. We're going to go back to Steve here for a moment. But where are you right now, Millie?
Well, right now I'm in San Diego, California, back at my hotel. But yesterday we were down in Tijuana, Mexico, right on the Mexican side of the border, speaking with the migrant caravan. I wanted to go down there and investigate and find out exactly what is going on with this migrant caravan situation. And I'll tell you, the liberal media is out there saying that these are all refugees that are in immediate need for safety and protection inside the United States. What I can tell you is that what I found out from the migrants themselves is that that is actually not true. None of them felt in danger. I had a translator. You can see my translator right there, Louis in the poncho, and he did a great job conveying what these people were saying to me. And it was pretty clear. They said, no, not in any fear of safety. We just want to come to America for a better life.
And that's the thing.
Well,
most of them are nice. Most of them are nice. They're telling the truth. But they're being used as a weapon. And the media is lying about the fact that 98% aren't refugees. So there's your headline. Migrants admit they're not in danger and are not refugees, that they are simply seeking a better life. Good. But you can't come in and have the Democrats put you on welfare and turn you into this bombshell information. We need to codify all this into one big article. This needs to go incredibly viral. Stay there, Millie. We're coming back to you. Steve Quayle, big picture, getting into what we just talked about with this Iran situation. I see that as front and foremost. How does this tie to the strategy with North Korea, with the peace prize, with the Korean War about to end? What's going on behind the scenes?
A total quantum chess game, Alex, that's in multiple dimensions. And just like, let me make it really clear. You've got all these different theaters. You've got the Middle East. You've got the border situation where the immigrants are, being used, and they're weaponized immigrants. We've seen the plan. The plan is to flood the West, destroy Christian culture, and absolutely bring about total mayhem. We've heard this so many times. We've listened to it off and on for 20 years, and now it's all in place. So remember, they will victimize anybody to make the people focus on the victim, but they don't understand who's doing the victimization, and that is the globalists. And again, people have got to understand this. There really are nasty people out there, and these people are willing to kill a lot of people. So there are all these theaters, North and South Korea. The Democrats just melted when someone suggested that maybe Donald Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, the idea is simply this: control all avenues of discussion, but keep the people's eyes busy. I'm telling you, Alex, they're building towards a third world war. That's the only way that historically they can bring on their change artists to bring the world into a peaceful mode, you know, and biblically, it's the Antichrist, the guy that's coming on the scene.
And now China's having a world score that we're adopting that tracks everything you do on the internet in live time. And if you're not a good globalist, then you get your score lowered to the point you can't work, you can't travel, you can't eat, and you die. The literal mark of the beast. And last segment, I was going to interrupt, but I didn't want to do it. Anybody can type in Oprah Winfrey, Ted Turner, Bill Gates, and others meet to discuss world government and overpopulation. And it was in the Wall Street Journal. It was in the Washington Post. It was in, and they admitted they all met in New York secretly, but they wanted the public to know they're setting up an alternate world government, as if David Rockefeller didn't set it up himself, and that they wanted to talk about depopulating Africa to begin with. So imagine if Kanye West said, I want to depopulate Africa and blacks can't have air conditioning or cars in Africa. You'd say, what are you, Hitler? But when they say it, now there it is, Wall Street Journal, if they say it, it's cute, it's funny, it's sweet. Billionaires try to shrink world population, report says. I mean, and they're all tax exempt. They put their money tax exempt towards this, then they call them philanthropists. Well, that Hitler was a philanthropist. I mean, and then they're led by George Soros, one of their key generals, who's a literal Nazi collaborator that hunted down people like Anne Frank.
Absolutely. And he said the proudest day in his life was leading Jewish people into the concentration camps. And here's a guy, and this is one question. I think I asked Roger Stone this too. Why is George Soros allowed to create so much mayhem in not only the United States, but all over the world?
Who does he work for?
I don't know, Alex. I know he works for the globalists. I know he works, but I think here's what I think. I think he works for the invisible. When I say invisible government, you and I have spent so many years.
The super deep state. The global international corporate super state. Even the two James Bonds ago. Well, yeah. They admitted it was the quantum group, and then he is like, they believe he's the real leader of Spectre. And again, the former top guy in MI6 and OSS, Ian Fleming, he wrote those based on what was really going on. It's the same thing today. Absolutely. He's the head of Spectre.
Yes, he is. And the thing that is important for people to understand, everything we're seeing in the movies now, everything we're watching on television, all the new shows, everything is basically people are bad. The world they've created has produced a zombie adventures in paradise, and they have the solution, they have the answer. And the story that you just brought up that showed on the screen, I mean, you've got Bill Gates openly calling for the elite to rule the world. And see, if that doesn't anger everybody who is, quote, a peasant, when you're talking about killing off 9/10 of the world's population.
And they're doing it at TED TV Talks.
Yeah, well.
And then we're under attack for saying it's bad, and Kanye's a racist. Give me a break.
Well, here's the thing. We're at the point now where people have got to stand up. They've got to speak up. And they got to basically pony up. The idea that free press and what you see here on InfoWars, what you see on, any form of alternative press that's really telling the truth. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, these are absolute weapons of mass destruction.
We're in total war, and we're not bitching. We're just saying we are your attack ships, and we're under attack. And when you pray for us and spread the articles and also financially support us, you are bringing dawn to the darkness. We'll be back. All right, coming up, Candace Owens. She's going to talk Kanye West, the future, so much more. That's coming up. Candace Owens in the last 30 minutes of this hour. Then Roger Stone with the big move for them to try to impeach Trump. Mueller to try to embarrass him, fake charges. It's a separate branch of government, the executive. You have to be impeached before the president can be charged. But the public doesn't really understand that, so they're going to try to embarrass the president right when he's delivering on the economy and on peace and so many things. We're going to go to Millie Weaver this segment and the next. Riding shotgun with us throughout the next 45 minutes or so is Steve Quayle. His websites are numerous and excellent. He's got award-winning documentary films that we carry at InfoWarsStore.com. Also, some of his books. You can find them all at stevequayle.com and the Q Files. Cliff Kincaid's going to be popping in as well. Again, Candace Owens. But going back and jumping any time, here's your riding shotgun, Steve Quayle. Millie, again, you gave us a little pre-taste of this. You've got hours and hours of live streaming. We need to post it as one article as soon as possible. Obviously, that's our job. With the bombshell, you talked to hundreds of the migrants, the caravan folks, that were very honest. They said, no, we're not scared. We're not fleeing fear. We want to be in America. But the media has this one woman and her children up at the front. Well, I mean, you got to take care of her. It's asylum. That's what Obama used, saying, oh, it's kids for those years, when he ordered no border apprehensions, and then nobody shows up for 3-4 years to the border hearings, to the immigration hearings. This is the end of our border. This is the collapse of Latin America. But the problem for the globalist is Mexico is close to a first world nation in many areas. They're on the very top 3%, 4% of, and you can look this up, of third world nations. They're almost first world, other than their crime rate and some of the rural areas. They know collapsing Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Venezuela into them will mean total collapse, cultural implosion. These groups are all very tribal. They're in tribal groups in Venezuela, you name it, always fighting with each other, communists versus this. This is collapsing civilization into the El Norte, and Mexico's El Norte, not just us. And so this is a big, big deal, Millie, that you've exposed this, you and Gavin, so congratulations. Lay it out for us.
So we had the opportunity to both go into the migrant caravan and also go check out some of the Casa de Inmigrante, which is the House of Immigrants, which are places, shelters for immigrants, which many of them were also being housed at. That's going to be in our special report that we put out. And standing around outside of that were some very nefarious looking guys. Looked like they could have been cartel members or protectors or coyotes. And so what we spoke to some of the locals out here in Mexico, and what they say is that they have a greater chance of getting through under refugee or asylum status if they have children with them. So human trafficking is associated with this caravan, and they tend to bring children because it increases their odds of getting into the United States. But this is all about just getting into the United States to work in the U.S. in order to bring money back to their families or back to their cartels, or get cartel members in to smuggle drugs. You know, the guy Louis, who was our translator, as nice as he was, he told us his background story, and that he was deported from the U.S. for smuggling heroin. So there's a culture of drugs in Mexico. I would say that, you know, the people in the caravan were no safer than the whole entire rest of the country in Mexico. But Mexico is almost like a third world country, and many other countries across, you know, the whole globe are in this same situation. So we can't say that, hey, these are people in immediate need for help and they need to get in, or because their safety is compromised, because that's just simply not the case. And if it were, you would have billions of people coming to the U.S., and we just can't do that. It would collapse our system, and that's exactly what the globalists want to do. Now, the globalists would like America to be run exactly how Mexico is run. They actually have a maximum wage in Mexico. You cannot get paid over $1.75 in Mexico. Even American businesses that come down there are not allowed to pay their employees more than $1.75. And even into central Mexico, it can even be 25 cents. So they're getting paid such low wages. They want to come, you know, get a U.S. passport or visa or citizenship to commute across the border, work in San Diego, work in you know, American countries, and then commute back to their homes in Mexico, or just live in America and send their money back to their families. So that's essentially what these people were expressing, what they wanted to do. It's essentially a business model. It's for financial gain. None of them were refugees. None of them felt like they were in any immediate danger or fear. They were being taken care of better than most of the other citizens in Mexico, because they had all of these Democrat NGOs, American organizations, coming out and feeding them. So these people were perfectly fine. They had already been given refuge in Mexico. So for the liberal media to claim these are refugees that need immediate help, it's just absolutely not true. It's a lie.
Well, you're on fire, and I just heard pure veritas from what our great reporter and team laid out there on the U.S.-Mexican border in California. Let's talk about the big picture here, Steve Quayle.
Well, the big picture, Alex, is they're being stopped. The powers that be that want immigration to destroy us like the rest of the world. Hey, people want to believe it or not, but there is the plan to turn every single nation in this world into a internal civil war so that you have nothing but strife. It's Saul Alinsky on steroids. We're talking about the ideal, if you will, rules for radicals, and we're talking about every single rule being lived out, and the media, the mainstream media that portray us as, quote, untrue news or false news, fake news, they don't get the picture. And the ones that do, they get the paychecks from the deep, deep state. And I want to make it clear. when I talk about deep state, I'm not talking about what everybody thinks is deep state. I'm talking about 13 families that are so far hidden beyond the old Bilderbergers and all the Rothschilds. That stuff, that's not the level I'm talking about. I'm talking about such a supernaturally evil cadre of Satanists who are some of the most powerful people in the world.
And it shows Soros to be its Renfield bagman because he rounded up thousands of his fellow Jews, thousands of Anne Franks. And he's targeting us. We've been told he's financing lawsuits against us because we keep saying he was a Nazi collaborator. Well, he said it on 60 Minutes. So now I say it every hour, not every week.
Well, the idea is this. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what you think, the attack has got to be on the truth because these people will not acknowledge the truth. For Kanye to say what he said, for what Milley's doing on the border. I mean, Milley, how many people are down there? I mean, I don't know how many of the main networks are down there, but see, all they do is they give little bites.
Oh, they're like, oh, these are poor victims.
Right.
Oh, they're all. I mean, Milley, you've been there. What have you witnessed?
Well, you know, there are hundreds of migrants down there, but they're in no worse of a situation than the whole rest of, you know, the population down in Mexico. There are actually Mexican children there that are in worse situation because.
And again, Mexico will not take them. That's a UN term we all use. Migrants. No, they're called invaders coming here illegally.
Absolutely, and again,
you know,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mexico actually, their immigration policies are actually kind of strict sometimes. A lot of times they will find these people and deport them. But when they come with children, they know that the federales are more lenient. So that's why they have the children there. And the federales are simply allowing them to be there, you know, to essentially try to ask for asylum in the U.S. Or it would be that they could just kind of go under the radar and not be in a big protesting group. And then they could actually stay in Mexico more likely because it is pretty lenient of a government down there. And it is mostly run by cartels. The situation politically down there is pretty bad. I would say that there's a lot of communist Latin groups in America that are pushing for communism. They don't want big business. But what's going on is in Mexico, they do not have big business there at all. There are limits on business. Actually, they have big cartel. So where do the politicians get their money? They have to get their money to run for office from the cartels. So right now, this is political season in Mexico. They've had about every 3 days, there's a murder of somebody who's running for office there. It's a death sentence to try to run for president or office in Mexico because essentially your opponent will buy off cartel and the cartel will murder you.
Yeah, they've got a mafia government of conquest. And just like Mexico was once vibrant, Rome and Italy was once vibrant, and then when it became an empire and corrupt, it rotted. And it's the same thing. When it goes into the ruling of the thug, Venezuela was once as rich as the U.S. till the 60s. Same was Argentina, but socialism came. And the same path we're on, ladies and gentlemen. And the elite leverage out the money. They devalue it. They buy up Swiss chateaus. And then when it all implodes, people are wanting something free when communism ends, and everybody's literally eating their dogs, eating their cats. I mean, like 3 years ago, they'd already eaten their dogs and cats. That was like the Washington Post. They'd already, and now it's just kids eating out of garbage cans. Thousands of people starve to death a week, but the government passed a law. You can't call it starvation.
Well, it's not only that, but cannibalism is coming back worldwide, okay? Even in Cancun, the old ways, and this isn't picking on Mexico, but they're finding people, Alex, that are having their hearts ripped out just in the last week, okay?
That's right. Mexico, even Cancun's not safe. I love Cancun. Can't go there anymore.
Yep, you can't go. So here's the thing.
Can't even go to Cancun.
They want fear. They want fear to be the driving force. They, the globalists, the Satanists, and let's call them ultra-black world leaders. And by that, I mean ultra-hidden world leaders.
Yes, secret. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Well, the little thought police out there are really busy. Ben Shapiro, who believes he rules the libertarian conservative movement, he doesn't stand up, against the censorship happening, any of it. He started tweeting at Candace Owens, who Paul Watson put on the map. She's a very articulate, wonderful person, but Paul really pushed her out there, and we've had her on several times, saying, don't go on InfoWars, don't go on InfoWars. And one of my people tweeted out, and Kanye West. Now, I told him that she's coming on to talk about Kanye West, so I got to change that tweet and clarify my earlier tweet this morning. In fact, if you'll print off my tweet, I actually sent the crew sent stuff out. I'm not sure who did this. They didn't send out exactly as I wanted. I said to discuss Kanye. But again, as if I need her to come on to have my own audience. I have my audience. They like me. I like them. we're chasing the tail of a story to even get Candace Owens on. And she told us last week, oh, yeah, I'll come on in a couple days, come on in a couple days. But we'll see if Candace Owens appears in this studio and airs today in 30 minutes. We will see. Because the little police officer of Thought Police, Ben Shapiro, came out and he said, no, at Kanye, no, no, no. Of course, Ben Shapiro's been lecturing, don't trust Kanye. He's going to stab you in the back. Again, it's like, you know, Alex Jones, he says this, he said that. You know, there's Martian kids or whatever. None of that's true. It's all lies. But, again, wait till you find out what really happened. Because it's not what Ben Shapiro's saying. It's not what she said, Candace Owens. Because I can't help doing this sometimes. So it's coming up in 30 minutes. Here it is. Candace Owens. Number one, I'm not on InfoWars today. Number two, disrespecting any platform watched by millions is silly. That's nice of her. Number three, please stop telling me and or Kanye no, can't, or shouldn't. Yay, Candace. Advice appreciated. Command shut down. No, 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 no. I run everything. I'm Ben Shapiro. I'm Ben Shapiro, the ultimate intellectual. Kanye's bad. Don't trust him. Kanye, don't go on there. Let me do an Alex Jones imitation. Hey, I'm Alex Jones. I'm Ben Shapiro. So, we'll see. Will there be a Candace Owens interview in 30 minutes? We'll see. Infowars.com/show. I mean, I never even do the stuff Trump does. I can do it all day long, too. But I've decided in these times, since the globalists are attacking, I'm going to 11, Steve.
Crank it up, Alex, because here's the deal. We can't break any longer. They're full speed ahead. They're full throttle. They're absolutely getting to the point where they're forcing the sides, okay? 1 minute you've got somebody who's your friend. The next minute they turn into your mortal enemy when you don't toe the line with what they think. And that's the problem. They got to learn to think.
But Ben Shapiro said, no, you don't go on there. I'm the boss. I'm like the liberal media. I tell you who can be on air and who can't.
Well, he's a puppet person then, you know, the little hand puppet guy. The point is that, in my opinion...
I mean, here's the Ben Shapiro look. I'm in charge now. Here.
And what's he in charge of?
Here, I mean, I can make that face too. Look.
What is he in charge of?
I'm Ben Shapiro, and I'm very smart. I measure my words very carefully. So you went down to the border. You're not Ben Shapiro, Millie Weaver. What'd you do, huh? Or you're not me, are you?
Oh, you know, we just kind of exposed that this whole migrant caravan thing is a racket. It's a fraud. And that's why I ask everyone who's listening right now, please, please share the video. Get the word out there. People need to know that this is a fraud, because since they've started allowing these migrants in waves of about 15 to 22, they've already let several waves into the United States. Word is catching on. And so a bunch of people are now jumping onto the caravan, and you're going to have more and more people showing up at the border trying to fraudulently gain entrance into the United States under the guise of being refugees, when that's just simply not the case. And remember, this is to disrupt the system. You know that the Democrats want these people to be brought in as Democrats.
Hold on, Millie. Come back and finish up. I realized I didn't get Ben Shapiro's authorization to have you on. Can somebody call Ben Shapiro and see if I'm even allowed to have on the next guest that's coming on after Millie finishes up? Cliff Kincaid, former Crossfire host and big anti-communist. And somebody call Shapiro now, because he's got to get permission before he comes on, too. We'll be back. Bye-bye, Ben Shapiro. Bye-bye. Can I go potty during the break? Well, if you just joined us, Ben Shapiro just ordered Kanye West and Candace Owens to not come on the show today. He ordered them. He does that. Look where you know he is in charge. I think they call that face the conceited douchebag face.
Well, all I can tell you is this, is that he obviously has a higher opinion of himself than he should, you know, and the idea here is that, again, everybody wants to control everybody. The day of people being able to freely speak their mind, Alex, and we've got to get this through, those are shutting down unless people stand up and they cough up and they absolutely, you know, support those who are out there on alternate media. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to stand up now. If you don't, your future is already decided for you. If you do, then they have to reconfigure their plans.
Hold on. I'm talking to Ben Shapiro. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know you're a superhuman and better than me. Oh, excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. You talk first. Go ahead. Oh, I may talk now. Can I have Millie Weaver on today? Can I have Steve Quayle on? And I was thinking during the next break I might go urinate. Can I pee-pee? I can't pee-pee, sir? You got to ask the boss when you can take a bathroom
Yes,
break.
I understand.
Well, thank you, sir, for telling Candace Owens and Kanye West they can't come on the show today. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, well, we'll see if she comes on to talk about Kanye in 20 minutes. We'll see if she's transmitted here. Yes, sir. I'll crawl in a hole and die. Thank you for being my God. Wow. Well, there you go, man. He's horse fed by YouTube. Why? He doesn't get censored. He doesn't get blocked because he's the great Ben Shapiro. Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro.
If he doesn't get blocked.
I mean, when you're making faces like the one he makes, like, I mean, boy, wow, I'm impressed. What an intellectual. I think I'm going to start playing a part of him like once a week because I can do an imitation of him and kind of sit there real conceited and go, well, actually, you'll see, there's a thing called liberals, and I'm real smart. Sorry, Millie, you got cut off there. So did Mr. Quayle. And have we gotten Mr. Kincaid's audio fixed? We're getting closer. Okay, Millie, you got interrupted by the break. We've gotten authorization from Ben Shapiro for you to be able to speak. He's now authorized it, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ben Shapiro. Thank you for that permission. Okay, so getting back to the migrant caravan situation, we have a situation where it's growing. Because they've started letting people in, there's going to be more and more people going down there. And that's why I ask everyone who's watching this feed, please go onto my YouTube channel, Millennial Millie, and find this video. Please share it. People need to see this. The word needs to get out. The video is titled Exposed Immigrant Caravan, Not Refugees. You can also find this video on the Infowars.com, but the sure bet is to find it on my Millennial Millie on YouTube channel. These migrants say it for themselves. People need to hear.
But listen, this takes away from Ben Shapiro. This takes away from Ben Shapiro. You know, he doesn't go down to the border. He doesn't go into the migrant refugee invasion center over the Mexican border in danger with an InfoWars crew. No, he decides who goes on my show. He doesn't actually go out and do anything. He just tells us how intellectual he is and then makes real little smart man faces. Again, it doesn't really matter what you did, Millie, or how groundbreaking. You have hundreds of these so-called refugee migrants admitting they're not really in danger and they're just an invasion force of the Democratic Party and Soros. It just doesn't matter because it's not authorized by Ben Shapiro.
Exactly. And one of the points that I was trying to make earlier regarding the businesses and how the Mexican people have such low wages, you know, you have this culture of Americans complaining about big business in America. And we complain that big business lobbies to our politicians and buys our politicians, which to some extent that is bad. But would you rather have it that we don't have big business here at all, like Mexico, and so that essentially the cartels are the ones buying politicians and running free, essentially the mafias? If we were a mafia-driven, controlled country, just like Mexico, you can see how that's happening down there. And so those are some of the pitfalls of communism and these policies that would drive out big business. Once you lose big business, the mafias buy up all the politicians and it's game over, just like what we're seeing in Mexico. They've got a lot of problems down there. From what I could see, most everyone was anti-Trump. Because the mainstream media has done a good job telling all of the people in Mexico that Trump hates Mexicans, which simply is not true. It's an edited up clip. He doesn't want people coming illegally into the United States, regardless of what
and Mexico has controls and all the rest of it. He didn't say the things they said, just like they do to us. They assassinate our character. It's mainstream media against reality. Millie Weaver, great job reporting. Continue reporting. I know you've got more explosive live reports coming and more HD reports. I'm not going to say what you're planning next for your security, but you and Gavin, I just want to say Godspeed.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Now, I want to get into the whole situation with Candace Owens and Kanye West, and now Mark Dice is involved, our good buddy, who we need to get back on the show, and Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro does some good things. But he just basically recycles libertarian conservative arguments and does it in a kind of squeaky, pontificating egghead way and makes little egghead faces and things that is really a bunch of puffery. Or he festoons himself with the peacotic behaviors basically of festooned arrogance to create an atmosphere of looking down the nose elitism, which is supposed to shock those of us in flyover country into just staggered, poleaxed, lightning-struck, thunderbolted jellyfish before his godlike vistage pouring out upon the fruited plain, the very elixir of enlightenment and next-level thinking. But that said, it's a bunch of recycled stuff. Jordan Peterson, nice guy, smart. It's all Carl Jung stuff. I mean, there it is. So InfoWars is original. It's trailblazing. It's cutting edge. Our guest star. And the fact that he would say, no, 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 Candace, don't go on Alex Jones's show. And he runs around, I learn, always doing that, trying to police things. That's what the left does, the elite coast. And the so-called new right-wing gods we're given that YouTube and others don't really block, like Shapiro, they're put out to control us and corral us. Ben Shapiro, as Mark Dice points, goes on CNN. He goes on places he disagrees with, as if Candace Owens and people disagree with me. The media misrepresents what I say about Sandy Hook or other demonization points so they can demonize me and try to keep people from coming on, just so they can control who talks to who, the very thing Kanye's saying is a bad thing. So to cause a debate about this, I made a decision today to do what I will tell you about at the end of the hour when Candace Owens is on for 2 segments. Candace Owens on this show, here, sitting right here. So that's happening, and you know it'll all make sense later. But I knew people like Shapiro would do this, and so that's what this is all about. And this is going to be a major teaching moment here to expose all of this. I could sit here with a fake British accent and then look at you like Shapiro or an East Coast elitist accent. Oh, yes. I don't do it. I'm not a fake. I have my own operation. We're bigger than Limbaugh now. Okay, we're not trying to be the biggest, but these guys want to be the biggest, Steve.
Well, listen, Alex, when you get your head above water, and the water I'm talking is about that drowning level of the mainstream lies that go out there, then people take notice. And the thing that people have got to understand, I think it's critical, is, ladies and gentlemen, what happens? What happens? I want everyone to ask themselves this question. What happens when the voices that you're hearing now on InfoWars, what happens when they go away? Because when we go away, that means they're going to come and take you away. Alex, people have got to step up, stand up. And listening to this guy, Ben Shapiro, I don't even know him, okay? I don't pay any attention to that.
Well, he's arrogant. He thinks he's the #1 guy in the world. Most people are like, who's that?
Yeah, I don't know him.
He just goes...
I can't talk to that, but I can talk to the scripted scenario of the mainstream press that does nothing but just you know what I called them? This is a great statement. They're vomit brokers, okay? Now I wanted to find vomit brokers.
But look at that young whippersnapper. Bow to him.
Well,
kneel. Bow.
You know, so bow wow, but I don't know who that is.
Called megalomania.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Alex. The guys that are trying to control the narrative, they always have ulterior motives. When you're originating the narrative and say, listen, think of this. You're being told, do this, do that, think this, think that. When you break out of that, that's what makes them nervous.
No, exactly. And imagine, I would never tell somebody who to have on. It's such a little authoritarian punk. Okay, I wanted to point out the type of gatekeeping that's going on. And so I decided to do an experiment. And I've been completely truthful about the experiment, breaking it down, except for one of the tweets that the crew didn't get exactly right. It's Kanye West, who's not been on the show and is not coming on next segment. Candace Owens talks about Kanye West here on the show. So that's what's coming up in the next 2 segments. And I did this, though, to make an example out of the stuff that goes on and how the gatekeeping operates and how it's used against everybody. And it's a junior high mentality. And it's everything Candace Owens and Kanye West say they're against. So that's what's coming up. I'm not in Hollywood. I'm not on the East Coast or West Coast. I'm here in Texas. We built our own thing. And our audience doesn't like celebrities. Our audience doesn't like chasing the establishment. They tune out like that. Good thing I already have the same taste. But I like trailblazers and mavericks and people that go against the grain like Donald Trump or Matt Drudge. And so we're going to have 2 segments with Candace Owens in studio right here. And then I'm going to come back and give you the rest of the story. And Ben Shapiro and all these folks saying, don't go on, don't do it. All his fans turned against him on Twitter. He's another one of these guys that says he's anointed and just sits up there. Everybody's supposed to bow down to him. It's a bunch of recycled stuff, almost all of it. And then when his fans attacked him, I saw during the break, he's like, oh, no, I'm not commanding you what to do. Yeah, you are. You're an arrogant, person. It just drips. I can't even look at you. And we see this so many places, the same arrogance. So I understand you're supposed to be king of the world, bro. I get it. You have no idea our reach. You have no idea. The enemy knows. They can surveil us. We don't even tell you what's below the surface. Now, that said, I don't walk around making faces like this. Come to me. I am Count Dracula. My will is unstoppable. I am Ben Shapiro. Come here. Your will is weak. You're under my control. I am anointed by YouTube. All other conservatives are banned. Come to me. Come here. Just like the media promotes. Peterson shows up on the scene. Oh, he's censored suddenly. All the media promotes him. The Atlantic promotes him. I'm not stupid. They're rebranding liberal humanism stuff as conservative, and everybody's taking a hook, line, and sinker, which is fine. But I've decided to go ahead and open up on all these people with their arguments, where they said it, show the statements they make or what somebody made 100 years ago so everybody gets it. And I'm going to start coming with a little pipe and a little Sherlock Holmes cap, and I'm going to actually do it in a British accent for hours at a time. I've decided to dissect all of you. And I'm even going to make faces like, I can't do it. It's just so childish, but I'll try. Anyways, you have the floor, my friend. You exposed human-animal hybrids 23 years ago when I read one of your books, and then a few years later it was actually in the BBC. Now they're announcing it everywhere. Tell us what's really going on. A big conference coming up, Steve Quayle.
Well, Alex, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, transhumanism and the hybridization of what once was humanity is what's taking place. Everything else is theater of the absurd, the things that are taking preeminence even on Drudge's headlines, the idea of artificial intelligence. What we're in trying to do is show people that, Alex, at the end of the day, all these people want the human race dead because they intend to supercharge. And
they advertise books and movies, the world without humans, how great it'll be.
Yeah. And my answer to them is...
murder everyone, liberal, the Cayenne's racist.
I tell them after you, of course, you know,
Kanye.
The whole world needs to die. That's their theme.
Liberal.
So, yeah, listen, in Branson, Missouri, the September 14th through the 16th, we have the biggest conference of its kind in the world, Transhumanism in the Hybrid Age. You can go on Gen6, GENSIX.com, Gen6.com. And the idea is to present some of the greatest minds in the world that have written, like Hugo de Garis, Tom Horn. Those of us, Alex, you're getting a lot of flack from the contemporaries in Europe. We're considered the transhumanist resistance movement, because when you interrupt the elite's script, they have to come in.
Their plan for humanity.
Their plan for humanity. And ladies and gentlemen, this thing is one of a kind. And by the way, my new book, which will be present, I'm not just pitching a book, you can't even sell it yet.
And David Knight's going to be there?
Yeah, David Knight's going to be there, keynote speaker, but it's called Terminated, the End of Man. And it looks like...
Have you noticed the communist Chinese are calling their AI supercomputer that surveils us Skynet?
Absolutely. And so, and 5G... I can tell you this, it's the total enslavement of the electromagnetic spectrum that human beings will operate in. And isn't it amazing? All the people that, Alex, you were talking about earlier, that claim that, you know, we the peons need the elite overlords to control us.
They believe they've taken control of evolution and are about to build this fabulous Ubermensch. Where did we hear of that before?
Right. And I mean, it's the...
Adolf Alois Hitler.
The quintessential...
But Kanye's racist, that's the problem.
No, here's the deal. Forget all the chatter. What I'm saying is, and you're dealing with it right now, chatter, tweets. I got to tell you something. Twitter, I've never tweeted, you know? I think I just, it's
well, they
relevant.
get you there to get your audience there,
right.
And then they cut everybody off. No,
exactly.
It's a wasteland of evil.
But ladies and gentlemen, go on Gen6, GENSIX.com and sign up for the conference. And for those of you that can't be there, we just announced live streaming, and it's really a critical time. And, you know, the point is, use your formula. Hey, Alex, we have Alex as the code word, and you'll get a discount. And last year we had thousands of people from all over the world live streaming. And this year, we're 4 months before the event. We're 2/3 sold out.
That's awesome. My friend, thanks for being here. Let me say bye here in the break.
Thank you.
Are you able to hang around and come on the War Room?
I got to find out what's going on with my trip to the airport.
All right, just hold on a second. We're about to go to break here.